a rich cultural fabric has to include dance if it's going to be complete. The Richard H. Driehaus Foundation, since the beginning, has been focused on small and mid-sized organizations where our dollars can have the greatest impact.
If you become too concerned about what your funders want you to say, then you become inauthentic and ineffective with regard to what it is you need to be doing. So the beautiful thing is that I think Driehaus has a real understanding about that, and there's an alignment there where it can become, I believe, a win-win situation. I really appreciate, again, that the Driehaus Foundation seems to understand that, because we've engaged with them in a relationship where we've been able to stand the test of time and to thrive.
The thing that's beautiful about what Driehaus is doing is they invest in the people who are working at the ground level and don't have deep pockets. And the consistent investment over time has been, I think, a critical component to how we've seen our community grow over the last 20 years. It goes back certainly further than that, but the way we have seen our young flourish is, I think, one of the great stories in the entire national dance field, what has happened here in Chicago.
We may not have a dance community in Chicago without this kind of support.
Sure, it's easy to look at the slate of the Joffrey Ballet or Hubbard Street Dance and say, wow, these are dynamic world-class institutions. Not so easy with new and emerging companies. And you have to remember that Hubbard Street and Joffrey, they all started there. And so to not be afraid and be bold enough to say, we believe in the mission of what you're trying to do. We believe that the value of your artistic expression is worthy of investment. It was one of the first foundations to invest in audience architects. And audience architects is so important now to the sector of dance in Chicago, and it's through that initial grant which allowed them to kind of survey the sector and field, identify what the needs were, that the true breadth of the work that Audience Architects does to service the dance community was born. And so it's being able to look beyond just these key investments into organizations, but what's really important and needed and vital for incubating and developing a thriving, healthy dance community in Chicago.
This is a city of entrepreneurs. And for that reason, philanthropy and what do you do with your money, and a lot of money, is much harder than it seems. You just don't want to kind of throw it out there.
Getting support from Driehaus Foundation is really nurturing for the community.
I think the depth of understanding is really important. There's some foundations that really have a clear idea of kind of the struggles and the issues and the rationale for what we do and how we do it and why we do it. And to have people that are on that same wavelength with us is also extremely heartening. It's not just the money, it's also that sense of support and understanding. Somebody that really gets those things that we go through. To fail, to be small, to grow, to go backwards and forwards, to keep on all those issues, and not to give up on organizations along those paths, because a lot of that is necessary for organizations and art to become stronger and more valid and more beautiful.
I had this idea for a work that had a large table in it, and just the table itself was kind of expensive, but I knew I had their funding for the year and we could afford to do this. We basically did the work twice and then it was never seen again. I learned a lot from that though. As an artist, there were a lot of good things that happened, but I could easily imagine someone coming and seeing that piece and going, oh my God. They did not bat an eye about it. They were like, we heard about it, it was great, it was this huge thing, and we're just gonna keep funding you.
The Driehaus Foundation is so responsive to artists, and with the production residency in particular, what they're doing is responding to a sort of national trend where presenters are possibly seeing works that maybe aren't ready to premiere yet. One thing that allows me to feel more stable and to take some risks and also to plan ahead, and that all fits together, is that the Driehaus Foundation has committed to general operating support. The Selmas, I don't know that we would be around without the Driehaus Foundation.
I think that's an example of the Driehaus Foundation's readiness to listen to an idea, invest in a new way without compromising historical commitments.
Richard H. Driehaus himself has a little bit of the soul of an artist, I think. He has a lot of original ideas. He likes new things. He likes things that nobody's ever heard of or done before, and he invests in that.
Richard is not risk adverse, and he reminds us that if we're not experiencing a failure every once in a while, then we're not taking the necessary risk to remain relevant. And above all, he wants us to remain relevant.
This is Deeply Rooted's 20th year, and that we're here is certainly a testament to the support that Driehaus has given us. So thank you.
I appreciate if Richard H. Driehaus Foundation keeps supporting new art form, experimental, contemporary dance. That would be super great, and I truly appreciate.
They're awesome, and it's always good to say thank you, so I say thank you.
It takes a lot of courage to say, this is where I'm going to spend my money. I think that it's going to be most worthwhile here. That's a blessing, and unique. And I salute him for that.